everyone, Raki here from Family for Christ, and I'm here to do an English version of the Bible study. We're going to be starting to do Psalms 91 for our Bible studies, and we're going to do the whole chapter. But for today, we're going to cover verse 1, 2, 3, and 4. So stay tuned and may God bless you. I'm going to read verse 1. It says, "He who dwells in the shelter of the Most High will rest in the shadow of the Almighty." There are three big things here. One of them is choice, the other one is trust, and the other one is rest. Let's look at choice first. David wrote this psalm, and it shows his choice. He says that he chose to dwell in the shelter, and also then he finds rest in the shelter. And so what do we choose? Do we choose to dwell in the shelter of the Most High and we'll find rest in his shadow? Or do we choose something else? So that's also a big thing. Another big thing is trust, which is we trust God that he's going to give us rest, and he's going to be our cover in the shelter, and he's going to be there to protect us. And that's a big thing here. Like this chair I'm sitting on, I am trusting it that I won't fall. And I wasn't even thinking about it because I trusted it that much. I just sat down and I was ready. Same thing here. Are we ready to trust God and enter into the shelter and dwell in it? Or yeah, so that's a big thing. Also, the third one is rest. Like at the end of the verse, it says, "And will rest in the shadow of the Almighty." When we enter in the shelter and in His shadow, we find rest and we find peace. That's why many times, like, we call upon Jesus and He gives us rest. Even in Matthew, it says, "You will find rest for your soul." This all happens if we enter in the shelter and if we dwell in His shadow. And that's a very big thing, because if we don't have a rest, then we'll be worried about many things. But God is always there to be with us, and He will be able to give us rest and give us peace. I just remembered a verse from when Jesus was teaching. He said, "All who have heavy burden, come to me, and I'll give you rest." Just like that, if we come to Jesus, then we'll find the rest. But we have to first come to Him and dwell in His shelter to find the rest. All these three things, choice, trust, and rest, they all work together. We have the choice to trust, and then we find rest. It all works together. It's like teamwork. Verse 2, it says, "I will say of the Lord, He's my refuge and my fortress, my God in whom I trust." David here wrote this psalm, and even in other psalms he says, "God is my deliverer, my comfort," many other things. And here, because he said He's my refuge and my fortress, then that's why God can show him that He is his refuge and that He can be his fortress. That's why also David is saved from many of the battles, because he said, "God is my refuge." Even many of his psalms, many of his songs, he says, "The Lord is my shepherd, the Lord is my comfort," many other things. And also us, what do we call God? And do we call Him our refuge and our deliverer? Then if so, He will be able to show us that He can be our deliverer and our refuge. And so that's a very big thing. What do we call Him? Verse 3, I'm going to read it first. It says, "Surely He will save you from the Fowler Snare and from the deadly pestilence." First, one thing here is the Fowler Snare. One of the meanings is it's like a bird trap. And kind of like that, He will save us from all the traps the devil has in front of us. Sometimes, like most of the time, we don't even know the trap is there. Just like when we set up a trap for an animal or a bird, like if it's hunting, they don't know that they're going into the trap. But same thing, like sometimes we don't know if we're going to the trap of the devil. But that's why God is there to save us from the trap and from the deadly pestilence, which means any diseases or any, like the virus here in this world. Many people have been dying from the virus, but God has been there to save us from it. And that's only because, I'll go back to verse 2, only because we call Him our deliverer and our fortress and our refuge. And like many things, we have to call on Him, and then after many things will come, like these protections and all of those stuff. Verse 4, it says, "He will cover you with His feathers, and under His wings you will find refuge. His faithfulness will be your shield and rampart." First, here it says He will cover you with His feathers. Like an example, a mother hen or a mother like a chicken, they cover their baby chicks with their feathers to protect them. Kind of like that, God covers us and protects us from any bad things going on in this world. That's why there's been many things going on, like wars and sicknesses, but we're still safe from it. It's not easy for some people to go to their house normally and be safe from it, or like to drive safe, or many of those things, but God is always there to save us. And under his wings you will find refuge. And his faithfulness will be your shade and rampart. It's under his wings that we go, and then we find refuge. And he will be able to cover us. Like this verse, it says, don't worry about tomorrow, but tomorrow will worry about itself. Kind of like that. When we go under his wings, then we won't be able to worry about anything, because God is there. God is there worrying everything for us, kind of. Like John, one of God's disciples, he would always be on the chest of Jesus. He would always go there, kind of like that. If we go there, then we find like protection, and we even feel loved. Like even Peter asked John, because John was always like always on the chest of Jesus. He's like, John, can you ask this for me? Can you ask this for me? Because he was close to Jesus. He was close to him, and Jesus was very close to him, kind of like that. If we become close to God, and if we go beside him, and he will be able to like hug us, kind of like that, then he'll be able to save us from many things. Like also John, he was always on the bosom of Jesus, but that doesn't mean that the others weren't close to Jesus. Jesus is close to all of us, but the thing is, do we know that he's close to us? John knew that that Jesus was close, and so that's why he was, even in his letters, he was saying, we know that, I know that, we know that. Many of those things, because he knew that Jesus was close to him. The other disciples, they knew that Jesus was close to them, but they only saw it through John. They only saw John was the close one, but that's only because John realized that Jesus was close to him. Kind of like that. If we become close, Jesus is always close to all of us, but the question is, do we know he's close to us? And his faithfulness will be your shield and rampart. It's by his faithfulness that we can use it as a shield. Like Job, God would always protect him, and he would be like a shield to him. And so that's when the devil went to God, he said, you're protecting him, that's why I can't be able to go and attack him. That's the thing. If we are protected by God, then the devil won't be able to attack us no matter how much he tries, because God is there to protect us. And so he will hide and cover you, but it's because we called him our refuge. It's because we called him our deliverer and our fortress. And so what we call him is very important, because then all these protections and all these privileges. Well, one thing I was about to say about the John and the disciples, we all have a privilege to go be on the bosom of Jesus. But the thing is, like this privilege, sometimes we don't understand that the privilege is for us. Jesus is always there for us. That's why he even came and died for us. That's only because to be with him, and so that we can be even saved. But if we don't understand this privilege, then we'll be sometimes going the wrong path, and sometimes we'll have so much stresses and many things. But if we understand this privilege, whenever there's some trouble going around, like even in your own home, or even like school, jobs, many things, if you understand the privilege that you have, that Jesus is right there beside you, then you'll be able to call on him and say, my deliverer, my refuge, my fortress, I need you right now to help me be my refuge and be my deliverer and my fortress. And so that's why what we call him is very important. All these verses, they go with each other. And it's very, very important what we call him. And also, like, God appeared to Abraham as he said, I'm Elshadai, I'm the God who can do all things. And so if we go near him, then he can do all things. So if we go near him, then we're acknowledging that, and we're showing that we know that he can do all things. And so, like, one big question that I ask you guys, and I ask many other people, it's a big challenge for us, is that what do we call God in our life right now? The main question, what do we call him? Do we call him our refuge? Do we call him our deliverer? Do we call him our fortress? Do we call him our shepherd? All these things, it matters so much what we call him, because then after we are able to acknowledge him and glorify him, saying that he is our refuge and our fortress. So thank you. I hope you learned something from this, and we'll see you next time. God bless you.